Okay. Okay. Hang on. All right. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. Oh, I can't hear you. Give me 2 minutes. I don't understand why I can't hear you. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing. Can you hear me? Okay. All right. You can hear me? I I don't know I have no idea what's going on. This is the first time this has ever happened, but I cannot hear you. But I understand you can hear me. All right. So you might have to you might have to type in uh, the question or anything. I don't know. And I have a StreamYard show tonight, so I got to make sure this is this is working. Absolutely, I can do that. I am Chaplain John McClung Jr., owner of I Am a Testimony Apparel, as well as Kingdom Connection Media Group, um, publisher. Okay, I am echoing. Okay, hang on 1 second. You can hear me now. All right, hold on. Let me take the other one off. Okay. All right. So can you still hear me now? Cool. All right. You type and I'll answer. All right. So as I was saying, I'm a publisher, book author, chaplain, licensed coach, speaker, trainer, and trying to get this thing together from a standpoint of being able to serve the people. But that's who I am. Those are some of the things I do, and I'm looking forward to somehow or another having this great conversation. The question is, for me, the journey has been amazing. For me, I'm a I'm a preacher's kid, so I've been around ministry and speaking for my entire life. And one of the things that's interesting is that somehow or another, when you are not very sure of what you are purposed to do, then you can actually get off track. So there was a long time I was off track, which is what's considered for me a prodigal son. So I had to get a little bit of the world. However, once I recognized who I was and what I was purposed to do, everything else changed and began to work in my favor. So in 2011, well, somewhere around 2009, I went through this traumatic, what I thought was a traumatic, and it probably was, divorce. And I actually went through a pretty tough time. And during the course of that time, I had a friend of mine who had a online show, and I became a co-host for her. And at the end of the show, I would say I am a testimony. And that was because of everything that I had endured from a standpoint of this particular situation. It was the only thing I could hang on to was I am a testimony because I was getting through it. And then all of a sudden, a year and a half so later, the Lord laid it in my spirit that would be a business for me, a clothing line business. And so I started I Am a Testimony Apparel in 2011. So it's been going 10 years strong, and it's just getting really started because people are really hearing about it. Initially, I was moving around, so I hadn't really got stable from a standpoint of really pushing the brand. But the one thing is that I love about I Am a Testimony Apparel is that to me, it is the only apparel an individual can wear from life to death, because that's exactly what they are, a testimony. And anyway, when you're born, you're a testimony of a seed to the world. And when you pass on, you have been a testimony while you were in the world. And so, I've expanded the brand from the shoes to the head, from hats to shoes to shirts, and then we're still building this online. And I'll leave that information as we finish up. But it has been truly a blessing and a journey to have this apparel line and be able to see people wear it for whatever particular reason. One of the things that I really wanted to make sure of was when someone sees you in the brand, they have an opportunity to ask you a question where you may normally not share that information. So when they say, I love your shirt, or why are you a testimony? You get a chance to tell your story. And then they'll probably say, I'm a testimony too. So they get a chance to tell their story as well. And that's one of the beauties of I'm a Testimony Apparel. I've been fortunate enough to not. Let me share this. And this and people that may get a chance to hear this, or the audience may get a chance to hear this. As a book publisher, one of the things I share with my clients is this particular motto: do something so great, history cannot erase it. And one of the greatest things you could do is do everything possible that you are made up to do. Whatever gift or talent or skill or ability, experience that you have, it comes together, creates this amazing stage, and you should never want to leave empty. So whatever, as far as gifts, some individuals have just a T, because they may just have one. And then some have an S, gifts, and they have multiple. So if that is the case, then you need to find a way to use each and every one of them. And believe me, for the things that I do, all of the gifts and talents that allow me to do what I do is all under one thing, and they all go together. Speaking goes along with the apparel because I can wear it. Speaking goes along with the books, because I can have those books there. I can talk about them. You see, I got one behind me. And so whatever the gifts and talents you have, exhaust them. Be afraid. Don't be afraid of man. Be afraid that you didn't use everything before you leave here. So the book in the book that you see in the back, man, this is a great question. So the title, okay, I'll answer that question. So, the title of the book, Are You in the Right Garden? Recognizing Real Relationships. Let me share this with you. So this came into my spirit. It took me 2.5 years to write it. It came into my spirit a couple years ago. I was doing a speaking event, and I had been reading and I had been going through this particular, writing and stuff like that. And I was getting these nuggets, and it was about relationships. And so there's two things that I know for a fact. When it comes to the soil, there's only two things that produce: the woman and earth. And both of them accept seeds, right? So that's the garden. The woman is the garden. She's the only thing that can accept the seed other than the earth. And so that garden has to understand that the soil that she can't just let anybody on the land. She just can't let anybody in the soil to plant seeds, because otherwise, just like the parable, when you throw seeds out, there's soil, it falls on rocks, it falls in weeds, and then every once in a while it falls on good ground. Every woman should understand she's good ground. And so, the book talks about three different characters as far as men. Talks about the hunter, the gardener, and the farmer. Every woman should want a farmer in their life, somebody that is consistent year after year after year, that has, that fertilizes, that waters, that, produces and encourages, replenishes, so that you can bear fruit. And that's what this book is about. It just walks you through a process of who you are in a relationship, what you should be, especially from a female perspective, and what to look for from a male perspective of which one of the guys you are. Because a hunter, he's the dude that come on the ground. He don't have no concern about the soil whatsoever. He come on, hunt, show what he's hunted, and kills or whatever. And that could be your spirit. That could be your self-image, your self-esteem. It could be a lot of things that just gets destroyed by the hunter. And the gardener, well, he could do it every once in a while. He might not be as consistent because he doesn't have to garden. He just does it every, when he feels like it. And there's nothing that he benefits from. It doesn't help. The only thing he may help is himself, or he might help his family every once in a while with the garden, but it's not anything that's seasonal. But the farmer, when he plants, he knows he's helping himself, he's helping his family, he's helping his community. And if he really is a good farmer, he could be helping the world. And so that's what's so great about this book. So if you get a chance, you want to get, are you in the right garden? Especially if you're single and you're about to go in a relationship, or you in one, you need to know who you're dealing with. And someone asked a question about purpose, and it's a powerful word. And the reason why I shared it early is because there's this area called the wilderness, and many of us may not know we're in it. We may not know we're going in it, or we might be coming out of it. And what do I mean by that? I mean that when you're in the wilderness, you're in a space where it's desolate land. Doesn't seem like things are coming together, not working right, not growing in your life, and you're trying to figure out how to be the individual that should be reproducing fruits from the labor that you create. And so when you think about your purpose, it's a divine specific or divine specific thing that you should be doing that can make an impact. It can change and add value to people's lives. And so during the course of when I spoke about being out there in the wilderness, I wasn't doing that. I was just going. And so it took a while because I couldn't get away from it. Again, I say it's in my DNA. And the powerful thing is, when you're strong in faith, it won't let you go from the thing you're supposed to do. And so even though I tried in some ways not to do it, it was much stronger than me. And so now I am doing it, and I get an opportunity now in purpose. And let me say this, I'm what you call an acrostic teacher. So I take words, individual words, break them down into a message. And so I talk about purpose. So like purpose is, it's pre-planned and predestined for you. It's unique to you. It reveals who you are. It provides and perfects you. So when you think about, the things that are happening in your life, right? It's obvious that, in purpose, it's obvious. People will say to you, man, you're good at this, or you will find yourself, wow, this is easy for me. It strengthens you. And then it creates an excellence in you when you talk about purpose, because you can do it so well that it's effortless. And that's what I should say. The E is really, it's effortless for you. And some of you might hear this and go like, man, that sounds like this about me. You might be this great cook, and then you take it for granted that you're a great cook. But when it's effortless, it could be something that you can bless people with. And you got to be really familiar with some of the things people might say to you about you. For me, I'm considered a teacher and servant from a standpoint. I serve and teach and train. I'm articulate. This is so natural to me to be in front of, be able to share with people. I know that this is what I'm supposed to do. This is my purpose, to be able to share with people. As a matter of fact, to help them to overcome being in front of a microphone or camera. And that's one of the things I teach. So when the question is asked about purpose, it is one of the things that is so important to know, so that you know what direction you're going in. Because if you're running around trying to figure out stuff, you're not in purpose. You're not aligned with what you're supposed to do. Because being brought here, you being born is a purpose. There's no other thing that someone else can do that you can't do better. There's something about you that you could do so well that is effortless, and you need to find out what that is. Great question. And well, since I can't hear, I'll just talk, because I love to talk anyway. But let me share this, because I know one of the things that this, and I'm so honored to be on here, regardless of everything that's going on. Angela, thank you so much for having me. I want to talk about, the book aspect to this, because I know that is one of the things that is a focus that you speak on, and you and I admire about you, how driven you are in this. And I've known you for some years now, and I've seen from where we started in reference to this to where it is today, and it's amazing. And one of the things I think is important for individuals, as a publisher, that I've been able to help individuals publish their books, and it's a fear for individuals to be transparent and authentic. But those are the two main things you should be: transparent and authentic. Why? Because here's another Johnism. There is somebody who has a headache that you have the medicine for. And if you have the medicine for it and you're not prescribing it for them, you're cheating that individual or those individuals. And what is the medicine? It's your voice. It's your story. And a lot of times we're fearful of sharing our story because, one, we don't think anybody will read it. Doesn't matter, because one person is looking for it. We don't think we can do it because we might get these little blocks. Or the most challenging thing that I have had with clients is that they are fearful of what people will say when they write. Because it could be close, because a lot of times we have these traumatic stories in our life that we don't want to share, but we know we need to share because somebody else is going through this traumatic story. And when you are the individual who might have just a piece of it to help them, you can't hold on to it. Why? Because you need to release it. You've been holding on to it for 10, 15, 20, 30 years, whatever it is, and it's all up in you, and you don't know how to get it out. And the greatest way to get anything out is to write it. There's a powerful line between the brain and the mind and the hand. When you begin to release and start seeing seeing what's coming on the paper, I can guarantee that there will be many who have heard something said to them and it just blew. They might have blown it off, or they heard it, it didn't make any difference. But if somebody wrote that same thing to you that was said verbally and you read it, it's a totally different impact. Matter of fact, sometimes you can hear something somebody said, and then when they write a letter to you and they read it, it breaks you down emotionally. And that's what books do. Books breaks us down emotionally because it makes us jump into whatever area we are reading in, and we begin to identify with it. And that's what people want to, that's what people need to know in authentic and transparent. They want to identify with somebody's story. And believe me, I was one that was wondering whether or not I could write this book behind me, because it took me a year and a half. And the reason it took me a year and a half, almost 2 years to write it, is because the Lord said, you can't write this book until you go through it. Ooh, let me share this again, because y'all got to get this. You can't write it until you go through it, because you will be more authentic and more transparent when you write it, because somebody will feel exactly what you're talking about, and they will understand that here's the medicine that I needed. See, when you read Are You in the Right Garden, there's some realness in it, because I went through each and every aspect of it. in some ways. Some of the things I learned at an early age from my father. Some of the things I learned through the hard knocks. There's a thing that I share. I call it life marks and landmarks. All of us have gone through life marks, them scars, them cuts, them punches, them hits, it's the things that happen in life that are reminded when we look back about these marks that we got on us. But then every once in a while, we get a landmark. And the landmark is when you say, you know what, I ain't doing this no more, or I ain't taking this no more. I'm put the stake in the ground right today, and I'm going to move forward from this. And this is going to be my landmark so that I can look back upon and say, you know what, I can look at this and go, this is going to be the point that gets me to the next point in my journey. And so you need some landmarks in your life so that you're not consistently looking at the life marks. And the life marks are the things that will consistently remind you not to write. They will always say, listen, don't nobody want to hear that. Or you might be fearful to write that. Or you might have somebody say, no, you can't have that in there. That's the life mark reminding you that, you know what, you're not in the same place anymore. You're at a landmark in your life when you've moved forward. So now you should be able to have the confidence to write for real. Because see, that's the thing. People are looking for realness. I see transparency and realness in here. Somebody said that's the truth. There are identifiers in our life. I can speak to relationships because I've gone through several divorces. And it was traumatic to me because I never thought I would. My parents were married 41 years. I came out of a television household from a standpoint of my parents was my favorite television show because they were amazing. So there was no way that I should be failing in relationships. But then again, I left at 18. I didn't know jack. I thought I did. But here are the things. I'm sharing one of them. Somebody asked, what are your landmarks? I'm sharing one now. When I realized, and I want you to listen to this. When I realized that I was stronger than shame, stronger than embarrassment, stronger than the mere fact of reputation, then I knew from those steps forward that I was strong enough to talk about what I'm talking about. Because there's somebody else who's been through multiple divorces. There's somebody else who thought they loved somebody and then find out that the love wasn't reciprocal. There's somebody who has gone in situations who, gave their all and then give nothing back. And yet they don't know how to talk about it. So it's my job, because when you look at me, the Lord has blessed me to say, man, he don't look like he's been through multiple divorces. Thank you, Lord. But I can talk about it, and I can talk about it with fun. Why? Because I can write a book about it, and I can express it in a way that allows others to identify with it. You would not be able to, I can share with you certain things. I could talk from a counselor aspect, but what better counselor can you have than somebody who's been through it and can articulate and share with you in a way that is heart to heart, spirit to spirit? Because the spirit knows the spirit. So when you sit down with somebody and you begin to share with them, just like I'm sharing with all of you, you can tell there's something I know about this because I'm freely able to share it with you. And so the good thing is, for me, as I was writing the book, for a year and a half, I was going through it. And what I mean by going through it, I was actually processing the book in a relationship. Everything that I was writing about, I went through the same steps in the current relationship that I'm in. I'm actually married to the woman I was at the time I was writing, and I walked through everything I had learned with her. And it was the best thing ever. Had I wrote this book prior to this, I probably would have jacked it up. I wouldn't have had as much information as you needed, and myself as well. But I was able to actually add all this other information to say it really works. And so if there's something in particular that you know, especially in your life, that you need to express, a lot of times we think books have to be 1 and 200 pages long. It don't have to be. Sometimes we think we got to write this whole paragraph or this half a book in one sitting. Why don't you just start with a line? Because a lot of times just the first line can be the most amazing line. maybe the introduction. Just get started. When we look at a lot of the books that are out here, they're amazing. Some of them got 25 pages. They just a short, quick read. Some of them got 2,500 pages. Who knows? But it's based on you. It's based on the mere fact that if there's something that you need to share in your life, whether you, let me share this, and I'll finish that sentence. I wrote a book in 2001. I was so fearful of the title of the book that I really wanted to write that I changed the title. And matter of fact, in 2001, I wasn't even going to publish the book. It was a journal because my father passed in 2000. So I wrote about the things I learned from him as far as manhood and how I can help other brothers in relationships as far as some of the things they can do to help themselves out. And I didn't publish the book for 14 years, y'all. I wrote the book in 2001, didn't get published in 2015. And the only reason it got published was because of a buddy of mine who has a publishing company. He saw the book and he asked me, John, do you have something like a journal or anything? So I sent it to him. And he hit me back within 24 hours. He's like, what are you doing? I said, what do you mean? He said, this is an amazing book. I said, well, this ain't what I was intending to do. It's just a journal for me. He said, man, make this a book. So I did. But I didn't use the original title because I was fearful of it. And a lot of times we could do that. We go, we have this amazing thought as far as what we want to do. And we won't do it because we're worried about what other people think. Now, y'all know what I'm talking about. We won't do something because we're worried about what other people think. And so that was me. And the original title, I'm not going to even say what it was because it was simple. But the real title, man, it would turn heads. So I wrote the more simple title for the first year. And I was so guilty, y'all, because I was scared to write the original title. So 2 years later, I relaunched the book. And I relaunched the book in its original title. And the original title was Love Muscle, Inside the Relationship Mind of a PK. And if you don't know what a PK is, it's a preacher's kid. So I was actually given privy to mental muscles, mind muscles, about relationships that I learned from my father. And all of the counseling sessions that he done and all the conversations he would have with my brother and I, that was in kind of a fun way for men and women to read either together or apart, either one. And so I say that to say this, a lot of times, and believe me, the cover and everything was more effective than the original. And a lot of times we will step back from what we originally want to do because we're worried about whether or not it will be accepted. Now, the only person really it should be accepted is to you. Because a lot of times we think about, well, best-selling status and all this other stuff. The bestseller is you. Matter of fact, if you sell one book to yourself, let me share this. If you write a book, the first book that should be purchased is by you. You should go on Amazon and buy your book first. I don't care if you put it at the low price first and then raise it up, whatever it is. No one else should buy a book before you do. Because you're the first investment that the book should be about. And you should read it and love it and then put it on your shelf, be proud of it. Because if nobody else buys one, you bought one. That should never happen, right? All right, so that's investing in yourself. And I think it's important, man. See, y'all gave me the platform and I'm a speaker. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I'm glad that I was invited to be a part of it. But this is so let me move from book writing because that's important. And the subject matter is, am I my brother's keeper as far as this what we're speaking of. And it's one of the things that I'm extremely man, it's almost like a pet peeve. Let me answer that, and I'll answer that first. There's a question that says, you are definitely creating and leaving a legacy. What does that word mean to you, and what do you want your legacy to be? So I have this quote: life is not how you leave in limitations, it's how you leave in legacies. And we can find ourselves limited to doing certain things. But when you remove the limitations, you can leave a legacy. What is the legacy? The legacy for me, I have a son that's 33. When he looks at me, there are a lot of things that he can say that I told him in early stages of his life that has happened, that has actually been completed by me. Matter of fact, to the point where he's actually completed them. I couldn't talk to him about education at a particular level unless I had actually gone through that level. So I went and got 2 bachelors and a master's. I just got another bachelor's in ministry. And he went and got his master's, or his master's he went through education and got his master's in human resources. How could I talk about education and leave a legacy or talk about that legacy unless I actually prove that I could actually do it or have done it? And so in our life, from a legacy standpoint, there are particularly, and when we talk about life mark and landmarks, there are particular legacy marks that are part of your landmarks that you should actually be leaving, not only for yourself, but for your family, for your friends, for your community, for whatever your environment is. They should be able to look at you in certain things, in certain ways, because you verbally have said, I can do this, and you do complete it or accomplish it. You're leaving a legacy. And what was my first motto? Do something so great, history cannot erase it. I've done some things history cannot erase, y'all. And you should be able to have that same conversation or have that same motto and same statement. You can word it however you want to, but do something so great, history can't erase it. Why? Because you can Google my name for the rest of my life, and my name will come up in a bunch of categories of things I've accomplished. Now that doesn't mean anything. Well, it does in certain aspects as far as a bragging. It's not about that. It's really about, what did you write down on your board? I got a vision board. And on my vision board, there's only one picture. It's mine. Now I'm going to do another one that has some things that I would like to, that I desire, but it has just all the words that I think apply to me, all the things in detail that I would like to have in my life. And all I did was I put a scripture next to it. I didn't put no picture, because I believe that if the scripture I pick goes with what I desire, then the Lord can't lie about me getting that. And it may take some time. I might have to mature in certain aspects to receive certain things. But the vision is mine. It is not everybody else's. The vision is, if I see a house that's built, a picture of it, that ain't the house I was looking at. Why would I put that on my board? Now, it might be some other things like a vehicle. There's a vehicle on my board I ain't built, but that's one I want as a dream car. But there are some other things in my life that I would write in detail, like diligence. What's the definition of diligence? Write it down, because there's scripture to go to it. What about wisdom, knowledge, and understanding? My favorite verse in the Bible is Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not to thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. And it does have an S. That's why I got multiple things happening in my life. And so those are certain things that should happen. You should have dreams. You should have visions. You should have particular ways that you want to accomplish it. And it doesn't have to happen all at the same time. It has to happen one at a time. Now, you might have your hands in multiple things, and that's great. Matter of fact, that's outstanding. But there's going to be one thing, that purpose that you're good at, that encompasses all the other things. And I can tell you that if you're struggling with that, especially, I'm gonna say this to my brothers, if you're struggling with that, that's something that you really have to find out. And here's why. When you think about the original story with Adam, the man that was designed and divine to do a particular thing. He had a particular thing he was supposed to do. He was given a task and assignment. Every man is given a task and assignment. So when people come into your life, no matter who it is, they're attracted to the task and assignment. Eve couldn't come into Adam's life until Adam's life was attractive. What was so attractive about it? Man, he was naming everything. He was given the opportunity to take care of the first piece of land that had everything in it. That's attractive. So when you come into somebody's life, there's got to be something attractive about them. They got to be working on something. So fellas, we need to be working on something. So whomever is brought into our life, they can work on it with us, because there's going to be something in their life that connects to that attraction. We can't choose. I'm gonna tell you, I was man. I had some beautiful ladies in my life, but I was a terrible chooser, and here's why: because I chose based on vision. Wait, listen to this. I chose based on vision, not divine vision, not divine vision. I, natural vision, but not spiritual vision. Because if I'd have chose by spiritual vision, I'd have waited like I did this time. And so it's important for us to understand, man, the aspects of who and what is in our life, who we're supposed to be and what we're supposed to be doing. And it is one of the most challenging things. When we talk about, am I my brother's keeper? Wow. Yes, I am. Because one thing that I believe is the biggest challenge is that there's a deficit of men that can help young men. Matter of fact, men that can help mature young men. I would say like in your middle and then seasoned men as well. Because here's, one of the things a lot of men have, it's unfortunate that they didn't have an example, fatherly example in their life during the course of mentoring, coaching, or whatever. So a lot of things they had to learn on their own, a lot of things they missed out on. And it's imperative to be able to fill that gap with information, fill that gap with truth, with trueness, because there's a lot of damage being caused, not only for them, but for women too, because they're dealing with men who are not whole, and guys are dealing with women who are not whole because they may not have had a father in their life to give them that balance the way it should be as well. So when we talk about brothers, brothers are we are significant. We are necessary. We are needed here. It's important for us to actually be able to be the anchor in so many things. We are looked up to even when we don't think we are. And it's tough to see my brothers struggling in certain ways when it comes to whom they're supposed to be. Do we have to be? We're never going to be perfect, but we can be in a position to be perfected. And that's the thing. The impact that we can make, especially when we come together and work together. There's nothing that can actually stop it, individually or collectively. I've seen it, and I'm in it to tell you the truth. I'm around individuals only that I know understand the same thing that I understand. Now, are there going to be some that don't? Yeah, actually, those are the ones that make an impact on it, so they can see. Those are the ones that impact me because I actually get a chance to understand why they're going through that, or I'm in a position to say, here's how you don't go through it. Because if I'm 60, y'all. I'm 60. I just turned 60 this year. So there's some stuff I know. There's some stuff I'm still learning. So I get a chance to share it with young guys. And so for me, this is what my brother's keeper is about for me. To be a part of this and to be able to share at the point, especially being a chaplain. So I get a chance to be privy to a lot of conversations that don't normally get a chance to be having, and people confide in me. And so they get a chance to hear words of encouragement that are truthful, that are honest, that are experienced. And that's important because men need to know that they're loved too by men. Brothers should be able to walk up to another brother without feeling funny and say, I love you, man. And so that's what I surround myself with. Because you know what? The first person I ever saw cry was my father. So I understand emotion is okay. A lot of brothers don't have emotions because they didn't know they could have them because we were told not to. We were told not to cry and all that. That's what Are You in the Right Garden is about. Are you actually dealing with the things that's part of your soil? And so we are these amazing seeds, brother. Matter of fact, we're some of the best seed planters we should be. A lot of us ain't doing it, but we're the only ones that can plant seeds, from a natural standpoint, so a woman can't produce unless we plant the seed and see the soil. So we got to realize how powerful it is for us to be these seed planters, bringing forth seeds, man, through the amazing soil. And so someone asked me one time, why is it important to talk about men, because we don't get talked about enough. Now we get talked about, but we don't get talked about enough because there are some brothers that doing some amazing things. Single fathers, man, professional, business, sometimes, we have this thing about the standard we should have or where we should be versus somebody who's may be blessed to be in another position, and do we come together? And a lot of us have made some things work. A lot of us have gone through some really harsh stuff, and we still do. And yet many of us are still here. The only thing is some of us don't know why. And that's one of the things that I believe that can change the course of who and what we are. And we can't be fearful of trying to find out our why, because it makes more of an impact on people's lives. It changes people's lives, including our own. And it has this great effect on those that are around us, especially our kids. I struggle with the fact that our young men are nowhere near. They remind me of the Israelites. Because see, the thing about Moses and the Israelites and going through they went through the wilderness. I talked about that earlier, the wilderness, because they had no clue what they were supposed to be doing, even though they were told. It took them 40 years to go somewhere instead of a month and a half. That's how many of us. I was one of them. It took me 40 years to get where I'm at now. So I understand it. So I'm comfortable talking about it. But I'm watching. One of the things is you really don't hear about the children, the kids, after the older folk died off. When it comes to the Israelites, you don't know anything about what happened in the Promised Land. And I'm watching the kids that are produced by the old folks right now, the seasoned individuals, in this big gap where there is no information. See, as a kid, I had plenty of information. I couldn't go down the block and act up, because the next door neighbor and everybody down the block knew whose kid I was, and that knew that they had no problem going down the street or even disciplining me wherever I was because of the information. They talked, they knew it, but we don't have that now. And we see what's happening, and I'm just speaking for the young man. I'm watching them. They lost. And so, it's important for us seasoned brothers to really be true. Even if it's one, just to take them under your wing, but you gotta give them right information. You gotta give them good information. Broken people can't help broken people. If you're broken, that's different. You got to get healed, because there's that 5 areas, the heart, mind, body, soul, and spirit, that you need to be whole in some aspect. And so we need to be able to do that. So let me answer. Let me answer this other question that somebody said. How do you find John? Everything that there's two ways to find me. John McClung Jr. is like the Facebook. If you Google John McClung Jr., I'll pull up. The other one is I Am a Testimony apparel. That would be the other way. My Instagram is at I Am a Testimony. I think I got a TikTok. It's a testimony in you, the letter N and the letter U. I do have an I Am a Testimony page on Facebook, and then the website too is IAAT333.com, www.IAAT, I Am a Testimony 333.com, and then johnmcclungjr.com is my actual website page as well, if you want to follow me. Every Tuesday night I do a podcast show called the Upper Vision Room Podcast. It's live at 9:00 p.m. You can go on my page. I think you can also go on my YouTube page, which is John McClung Jr., and watch it. I have some amazing guests. I've been doing it for 8 months now, I think. And before that, for 5 years straight, I did a series called Spiritual Message Moments, where I would take a word and break it down and just create a message out of it. And I did that for 5 straight years. And so I've had an opportunity to share, and both nationally and internationally. I've had the opportunity to speak in Africa. And so I'm excited when I get a chance to come on. So again, Angela, thank you again for allowing me to come in and share a little bit about myself and what I do. And, the books, I got 3 books that I've written. You see the one, Are You in the Right Garden? The second one the first one was Love Muscle, and then also Spiritual Message Moments, God's Guide to Getting Back on Track. All 3 of those are on Amazon. Spiritual Message Moments was a bestseller. I thought about trying to make this one, but I'm gonna do it later on. I'm just pushing and have fun with it. But Thank you. Just and again, Angela, I don't know what these technical difficulties were, but for the if the people can hear me, something. Oh man, let me say this. Sometimes your voice is more important than your face. If your voice is true, people connect to voices. They said the Lord said, "My people, if they hear my voice, will follow me." And so if your voice has this connection, people will follow you. So it was meant for me, maybe not to be seen or and heard, but best to be heard. So I thank you for allowing me to be able to do that. I believe you just said something. Of course, I didn't hear it, but I'm gonna answer. I'm just say I'll just answer it. Maybe I get the last one, and then oh, we see you see and hear me. Okay, fantastic. I just can't hear you. Okay, so man, I'm glad I wasn't acting up. No, thank y'all for listening in. I pray that somebody was blessed, and because anytime that I get an opportunity to speak, and no matter what the platform is, my job is to say something or share something that will be important because every individual that actually gets a chance to hear, there's a reason why they are actually a part of it. And then you have this amazing platform, and so for those who get a chance to be a part of it, I pray that they do and they say things that will help those individuals who get a chance to hear it, because that's extremely important. Thank you. I appreciate it. I look forward to sometime doing it again. Thanks. I'm looking forward to it. Hey, I've gotten a chance to see you grow. And so you have done an amazing job from that first time I got a chance to speak in that room on that stage to today. And so we still chasing the dream, my dear. Indeed, we do. Indeed, we do.